wired and fired. It's very. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna. So it is our great honor and privilege to be here with all of you this evening. From what I understand, you don't normally have programs on a Friday night, correct?
We have Thursdays, Sundays, and Saturday programs. So, yeah, that's usually happening. But however, we can't carry this one.
Okay, so yes.
Like to introduce.
Okay. You want me to introduce? Okay. All right.
Thank you all for coming this evening. On a Friday evening, we expected a little more, but I think some of the devotees will be joining on the YouTube and Zoom as well. Right? Today, we are very fortunate to have Nitai Prabhu and Bhava Bhakti Mother. Just a little quick introduction about Nitai Prabhu. He's initiated disciple of His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj. He joined ISKCON in 1998. His professional background as consultancy in software development in the investment and banking industry. Prabhu has spent more than 10 years in the Brahmachari ashram and was heading the outreach and temple management. Prabhu also served as the ISKCON London temple president for about 14 years. And he also established the UK National Devotee Care Office, which oversees 5 devotee care zonal reps team, and he's also a zonal supervisor for UK. And Bhava Bhakti Mataji is the second initiated disciple of His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj. She joined ISKCON in 1996 with a master's degree in English, literature and psychology before pursuing a career in central government. She previously served in a volunteer capacity as the temple administrator, charity secretary, and mentorship coordinator of ISKCON London, as well as DT service, cooking, and communications. So today we are very fortunate to have them here with us in ISKCON Columbus. And Prabhu is going to give a talk about devotee care today, and Prabhu is also giving another devotee care lecture in ISKCON Cincinnati tomorrow evening. And then Sunday we are fortunate again to have them back in Sunday Feast.
Tomorrow morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Tomorrow morning we'll have Srimad Bhagavatam class as
on
well.
Zoom.
On the Zoom. Okay. And Alankar Prabhu will send the Zoom link.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were going to introduce everyone here, so it's our great honor and privilege to be here. Thank you so much for those kind words. Actually, we're just trying to become the humble servants of the Vaishnavas. This is the safest place to be. Das anudas anudas. I was mentioning earlier, we came here last year. We passed through on Radhastami. So somehow Srimati Radharani, in her gloriously dancing mood, allowed us to come in for Radhastami last year. But we were only here for about an hour and a half, something because we had been driving from California and we had a flight back to London the next day. So somehow we thought at least we can stop for a few moments and see these beautiful dancing deities on Radhastami. And so we were here for a very short time, but at least we visited, and now somehow by the mercy of their lordships, Shri Shri Radhanatha Bar, we've come back again, getting the wonderful association of all of you. So we thank you for taking your valuable time to come this evening. I'm sure you could, in Columbus, it seems like a very exciting city. I'm sure you all on a Friday night would normally be out partying. But instead, you've decided to come here this evening, so that's for our great benefit. So we thank you very much. We'll sing a little bit, and then we're going to discuss a topic which we're currently sharing and encouraging internationally with devotees. So like that. So Jai Radha Madhav, it's okay. We chant that. Parikshit, yes? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braj Jananjana Yashoda Nandana Braj Jananjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Nata Bala Radha Nata Bala Sri Radhe. Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra. Shri Shri Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Premanandi, Haribo. Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Pararaja Kacharya Stota the Satyas Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gauda Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Vishnu Swami Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Vishnu Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Namo Krishna Krishna Shana Pastor. Fuji, I set my bag over there. Would you mind passing it? Yes, blue one. Thank you very much. So we'll also start by chanting the Mangala Charanam prayers. Just quickly, maybe is everyone familiar with those prayers? Okay, so we can all chant them together. Please forgive me, I have a little bit of a sore throat from this traveling. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Okay, Hare Krishna. So since we're going to be sharing the mic, we'll pass like this. So again, it is our great honor and privilege to be here. As was announced, my wife, Baba Bhakti Devi, and I are based in London. Although probably from my accent, you can tell that I'm not from London. Anyone would like to guess where I'm from? Where? Panama. Baltimore. But you're very close, actually. Of course, you should all know, if you ever think someone is from America, you should first say, are you from Canada? Because people, if they happen to be from Canada, and you ask them if they're American, they get very upset. So the etiquette is first you must say, "Oh, are you from Canada?" Because Americans don't mind if you, because it's a compliment. But for Canadians to be called an American, it's not a compliment. The same is for also New Zealanders and Aussies. So if you ever think someone has an Australian accent, you should first say, "Are you from New Zealand?" And then if they're from New Zealand, they'll say, "Oh, you're very good." You know? But if they're from Australia, then they'll be like, "No, I'm from Australia." You'd be like, "Oh, okay, I thought that. Yes, yes, yes." Anyway, these are etiquettes. Sorry, from Pakistan. Yes. I wasn't going to get into that one, but yes, yes, you're correct. Um, so this gentleman said Baltimore. Actually, originally I'm from uh, near Frederick, Maryland. So more or less right in between the two. So that's actually where I grew up, but for the last 30 years I've been in London in the UK like that. So, and my wife, I guess, her family's originally from Africa, but then India and the rest of life in London. So she's more Londoner than most most London people. So like that. So anyway, a little background here you can see on the board. Our topic for discussion is devotee care. It's as was mentioned, my wife and I were serving at ISKCON London for many, many years. And I recently stepped down 2 years ago now as temple president, and handed over the service to someone else. Best thing I ever did. um, and our spiritual master encouraged us to focus on this principle of devotee care. He was sharing with us that his experience after so many years of traveling and interacting with devotees is that the most important need in our entire movement is to care for the devotees and to look after the devotees. And he said his experience is that primarily devotees just want someone to talk to. Often there just isn't anyone for them to really, really genuinely reveal their heart to. And which is ironic because we see there are so many people around, but it's not an easy thing to find someone that you really trust to open your heart to. So he encouraged both of us to travel and to speak on the principle of devotee care. And specifically, he said that we should learn to love the devotees. So after 20 years in management, he understood I needed to learn finally to love the devotees. Because when you're a manager, often it's more like you seem to hate the devotees because you're always getting on everybody's case and, trying to manage. So like that. Okay. I'm very spontaneous, and she works very good with cues. So, not yet. So, the idea is to try to build the future of ISKCON with care. This principle of care is something when we speak to. Can you hear okay? Yeah. A lot of static because I've got it too close. Should I hold it like this? Is that better? And then you can't hear it so well? It's okay like this? Okay. So building the future of ISKCON with care. Why do we need to do that? Because we should handle ISKCON with care. Because Srila Prabhupada said that ISKCON was non-different from his own body. So should we handle Srila Prabhupada with care? Yes, of course. So therefore we should handle ISKCON with care. Means we should be very careful when is everything okay? I thought that was ecstatic, but but you can switch it off as you like, no problem. Sorry, Prabhupada. So, and especially we should handle ISKCON's devotees with care. Why? Because they are very fragile. Yes? Anyone here feels fragile sometimes? Sometimes. Yes, it's amazing how easily the hearts of the devotees can be broken. We should see every devotee with this sticker. Because often we don't think like that. And that's the way that it goes. Sometimes we're very quick to speak something sharp. Often we use this word Prabhu. Yes? Prabhupada encouraged all the devotees should address each other as Prabhu. And Prabhu means master. But very often we say, hey, Prabhu. Right? Isn't it? Hey, oi, Mataji. We use terms of respect, but we speak them in a way that's not really so careful or respectful. Yes. And so it's very easy. And the most dangerous weapon is actually this little weapon here. So powerful. Just one wrong word at the wrong time, and it just cuts right into the heart. And it leaves an impression that stays there for ever. And our experience in traveling is we meet devotees who start to open up and talk. And some of the stories we've heard, I can't believe they're still serving. But many times people will say, so many years later, just that someone said something to me in a certain way that left a really bad mark in my heart, impression in my heart. So we have to become very conscious and be very careful in our dealings with the devotees, because the devotees are very fragile. Get some.
Okay, so I'll read this text. The devotees of Krishna are the most exalted persons on this planet, better than kings, all of them. So we should always remember that, and like the bumblebees, always look for the nectar or the best qualities of a person. Srila Prabhupada, he wrote this letter to Atreya Rishi, 1972 in April.
Anything stands out for anyone in this? Of course, when we read things, sometimes we read it, but we should really think about what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Anything stands out? Just reflect back. Anything. Prabhuji, something stood out for you when we read that? Perspective. Can you explain, please? Perfect. Yes. We can see the same thing differently, different times. And two people can be looking at the same exact thing and see it differently. Someone did this test with me once. I don't know if we'll be able to do it now. Let me see. It's covered. Anyway, this is an iPhone. And behind this is an apple. Yes, the little apple insignia. So we did this thing. We put it between two people, and I said, "Can you see the apple?" And he said, "Well, no, now, but imagine you could." Yes. So he would say yes. And then we asked the other person, "Can you see the apple?" And he said, "No." And then you said, "Are you sure you see an apple?" And he says, "Yes, definitely. There is no apple." "Yes, there is an apple." And then what happens? World War III. Just because the perspective is different. and they're not able to see the same thing from the same perspective. And because of this, difficulties. Very nice point. Someone else? Anything that stood out? Someone had their hand raised? The bumblebee. Please explain.
We always look for the qualities. For conductor,
Yes.
so that they can travel and then they don't.
Very nice. So the bumblebee is always going after the nectar. And what, in this analogy, Prabhupada uses this analogy from the Shastra, what is the opposite of the bumblebee? The fly. That's a different analogy, but very good. And the fly is always going for the sores or pus or dirty places. And the other analogy is between two birds, and one bird is the swan and the other is the crow. Yes. So like that, two different perspectives. We either see the cup as half full or half. Who decides which is right? Us. Who said that? Yes. We have to decide, right? So we have to decide whether our consciousness is like the bumblebee or like the fly. Do we look for the good things in others or do we just see the bad? Now I'm going to ask you to be honest for a moment. Who here is like me and has a tendency to see the faults in others? Anyone is like that? Oh. Anyone here sees the good qualities? Yes, sometimes. But it's like that, isn't it? Sometimes I see the good, but most of the time I see the faults. What is that? Where does that come from? Now, how do we like it when someone else sees the faults in us? That was good. Exactly. No one really likes it when anyone, even someone who even if it's your guru, even your guru or a senior devotee may say, Prabhuji, when you lead that kirtan, you always say that word wrong. Now, of course, you might be humble and say, yes, 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 Prabhu. But then as soon as he leaves, you'll say to someone else, who is he? Why did he speak to me like that? How could he say, right? Anyone has that experience? I'm not the only one? Phew, thank you. That's good. Yeah, so it happens to the best, but we have to take responsibility to choose the perspective that we see and the consciousness. Anything else stood out for anyone in this? Yes, Prabhu at the back. Nice.
Just because it doesn't matter what they all those things are all the fact that we have visited the temple, that itself that is good. So that's what
Yeah, very nice. Most exalted persons. Actually, Prabhupada says they're the most exalted persons on this planet. They're better than kings. Of course, we come from England. We have our King Charles now. Better than kings. Which ones, though? Which ones are better than kings? Whew. All of them. That's very powerful. This letter, I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to read the letter in its entirety. This is just simply one small section. And Prabhupada encourages that we should always look for the nectar or the best qualities of a person and really try to see the good qualities. It's so easy to see the bad qualities. What's the example that's given about the white sheet If there's one black spot, exactly, thank you, Prabhu. One black spot on that white sheet, what do we see every time we look at the white sheet? The black spot. So much white. And we focus in on the one black spot. So like that.
I was going to say that quality, or maybe I guess quality of where we as devotees can instantly judge. So if you see someone for the first time, or if maybe in a room, that we instantly may judge, oh, they're wearing like that, or they're sitting like that. It's like the conditionings that are very deep in us, but it's also a protective measure, because if we're not able to feel secure, or if I don't feel confident or with the particular type of person, instantly I'm going to look at, but anyway, they were a little cold, or that they weren't dressing right, or maybe the tilak was a bit wonky. Or like one example is, before we came, we held an Ishtagoshti at Bhaktivedanta Manor where we're serving, and so there was rows and rows of everyone was sitting on chairs, men, women, and and we were on the stage, and in the front row, right in the front row, there was a gentleman devotee there, and I was speaking, and my instant in my mind, I didn't obviously say it, was, I'm not sure about this devotee. And he was we hadn't even spoken, and he was sitting right in the front row, had his hand in his bead bag, but he was sometimes looking, sometimes maybe not looking. And after everything was over, I remember mentioning to my husband, did you see that devotee sitting in the front row? I wasn't getting good vibes. I'm not sure about him. This is how I'm computing this situation. I haven't even spoken, but I'm picking this up. Next day in the Mangal Arati during Japa time or something, I think you must have bumped into him or spoke to him, and he's telling me, he said, he serves in the Gaushal. They have a very big Gaushal at the manor. I said, really? Because I was wondering, what does he do? How did he come to the Ishtagoshi? He said, yeah, and he's serving for so many years, and second generation devotee. And subsequently, I did have opportunity to meet him when we were going in the morning. Very nice man, very, very sweet. And I was thinking, yeah, and you just judged based on not knowing the person, but I don't even know you, but I'll judge you on the external, and even judging just by the way someone's sitting, as a who's just a little bit like maybe too comfortable, and I'm judging on that basis, and just judging because he wasn't maybe connecting or giving that attention. And I was thinking, it's so easy, no matter how long you've been chanting Hare Krishna, coming to the temple, maybe coming for a devotee care seminar, but maybe the next day or the day after, we may just fall prey to those conditionings that we have. And, well, who is that person come? Did they leave a donation? They took 2 plates of prasadam, and they took a plate on top to cover it. Do they know how much that costs? So it's so hard. But when you see this letter, which if you read it, as I said, in its entirety, it's quite purifying. It's quite an amazing letter that Prabhupada is saying they're all kings. They're all better than kings, actually. And just to always have that mentality.
Oftentimes, if we did this, we had a program once, and I like to encourage interactivity. So we were doing a program with a new community, and there was a good 30 people in the room. Many of them were brand new. And I said, okay, we're going to do something that everyone gets frightened about. We're going to ask you to speak to someone in the room that you don't know, and just ask them the basic questions. What is their name? What made them decide to come this evening, and what inspires them, like that. So as I was saying this in the room, there was one gentleman who had, the majority of his face was piercings, and he had tattoos and like a red mohawk. And I was thinking, okay, I'm probably going to participate, and I hope that guy doesn't come and speak to me. And then as soon as I said, okay, everyone go, he made a beeline right for me. And he said, I want to speak to you. And I thought, oh, just see, like you were saying, just see my own heart. And then he proceeded to tell me that for the last 25 to 30 years, he's been associating with devotees in so many different ways in so many different places. And then he told me how the devotees have saved his life numerous times. And the story that he told me, I was literally in tears, sitting and looking and reflecting on what's happening in the heart of this person that I have judged simply by the externals. And I was thinking, so little do we know about the life of another jiva, yet so quickly we're ready to make a complete assessment of their entire life, crack the gavel like a judge, and be done with them, right? So easy. Yet the life of a person we know so little about. And the fact of the matter is that often, well, not often, every single devotee has a story. There's a whole backstory. Just like in the Bhagavatam, every single character has a backstory. You know, if you just dip into the pastime of King Chitraketu and you see Indra fighting with Vitrasura, then you think Vitrasura is a demon, Indra is demigod, so it's good, but good guy, bad guy, easy. But you don't realize that actually Vitrasura is the pure devotee in this scene. Oftentimes we get young students, they come to the temple. I don't see a picture of Lord Nrsingadev. He's on the altar, yeah, of course. Okay. And when the kids come, no matter how many beautiful pictures we have in the room, all the kids go straight to that picture of Lord Nrsingadev performing surgery on Hiranyakashipu. And so I asked them, who do you think is the bad guy in this picture? And they all say, the monster. And who's the monster? Well, the actual monster is Hiranyakashipu. But everyone thinks that Lord Nrsingadev, because of the way he looks and what he's doing, they think he's the monster, he's the bad guy. So the mind will always try to trick us. So therefore, as Bhagavad Gita explains, only with the help of the mind can we deliver ourselves. So we have to learn to control the mind and the false ego and stop allowing it to come to the forefront and make decisions for us. We have to control that. We have to do it. And that's actually a very powerful and important first step in devotee care. Because it's hard to care for someone that you actually don't care about because of whatever assessment we've made about them. So devotee care is for all the devotees, as Prabhupada is saying.
So here we have this quote: the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade we do not expect to sit. Now, anyone got any ideas what that means? To plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Selfless service. Is that what you can? Yeah. So you invest or do programs that, not that you're going to live to get the medal or I did this, but other people, like planting a tree to sit under it. And I was just thinking that when I first started going to the ISKCON London, I was at university. So when you're at university, if anyone's, you don't have classes all day, but my parents didn't know that. So I'd go to the classes 1 or 2 hours. That was the class. And then I'd be at the temple. But the irony was, you can come, like here we've got so many devotees. I'm sure you were saying more come for other programs, but you can feel quite lonely if no one notices you or talks to you. You can come in, for me, from this door, that, see Srila Prabhupada, take darshan and leave. And you could do that for weeks, months and years if until someone says, "Oh, Hare Krishna. Oh, what's your name? Oh, do you want to stay for? We're gonna have a class now, or do you know we got this program on Sunday?" Until someone connects, like till someone actually cares enough to connect with you, you could do. And I was doing that for, I would say, months, just coming, taking darshan of deities, and then going, not staying. We always we have a lunch program there, and but didn't even stay. And then one time, one Srila Prabhupada disciple, she would do guest greeting and stand at the top of the stairs because you had to go up this quite a lot of stairs to get to the temple room. And she said, "Hare Krishna," and it was like, and then she just started to notice me and talk to me. So then I felt I'm going to go to the temple not just to see the deities, but there's someone there that um knows me, like is waiting to see me. And then the next thing she did was to engage me in service. So then she hooked me first by noticing me, but then she engaged me in service. And then you feel important, like there's something I'm doing that they need me to do, or they benefit, they meaning the temple. I hadn't seen any of the managers or temple president or anyone, the residents or anyone, but there's someone here that's connected me. And so and now, I don't know, 25, 26 years later, we don't associate. She's still around. She's not so much good health, but for me, she invested in me and created shelter for me in this movement. Like she connected me to the movement from noticing me, just simply saying hello, like Hare Krishna, and then connecting me through expecting to see me. Oh, you didn't come that day. Oh, you didn't come that Sunday. Oh, would you like to do this service? And the service she actually engaged me in, ironically, is devotee care. Because what she said to me was that there's a lady, Western English lady, um, who cannot come to the temple anymore. She was coming in the 1980s. Now she lives in a place called Blackpool, which is like a seaside resort in England. She said, "Can you start to write to her like a pen pal?" I said, "Oh, okay." This shows my age before, like, text messages. Well, I didn't even have mobile phone then and emails and that. So I said, "Okay." And she said, "Just connect with her and just, how is she?" So I started to do that, and I was sending Maha sweets every now and then, like writing full on letters, and we'd write to each other. And we're still doing that. Now we actually email and text each other and phone, but that's a good 26 years ago. And that was the first service that she engaged. We haven't met yet because she doesn't feel so confident health wise and just personally to come to the temple, but it's kept her in the association of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON. Someone, "What are you doing? How are you doing? Hare Krishna, what's going on?" And sending her sweets and just making sure she's okay. So someone cared for me, and then they engaged me, passed that on in caring for others. So for me, it's just like making sure, investing in projects, but more so investing in people. And you may not be the one that sees them to the end, as it will. They may not continue with you on the path, but it makes such a big difference just to reach out and care in the most simplest of ways.
Some of you may be familiar with Chinese bamboo, that you plant it and it takes 5 years for it to even sprout. Now imagine, anyone here has ever done any gardening? Yes? Growing something? I mean, it's so exciting. I really love it to grow something, especially vegetables or flowers, because you get some direct usage out of them. So you're just waiting to get the fruits. Exactly. You're waiting to get the fruits. Not exactly fruits, but the fruits of your labor. Not to use in Krishna's service, of course, But imagine you plant something and you water it, you weed it for 1 whole year, and nothing happens at all. I mean, what would you do? Forget it, right? Just forget it. Okay, maybe after the first year you think, let me try one more. 2 years, nothing. 3 years, nothing. 4 years, nothing. And then in the 5th year, some little thing. I mean, you would be like, woohoo, I'm so excited. And then it grows 80 feet in 6 weeks. So sometimes it may take a long time to see the fruits. And actually, the previous analogy, we may never see the fruits. That shouldn't be why we're doing it. We should just keep watering that patch because it's the right thing to do. Because actually, serving the devotees, it pleases Krishna. And because it pleases Krishna, that's why I do it. But if we're honest, and I often tell this story, one devotee, he joined in ISKCON London. And when he was first coming, he was having troubles in life. Many devotees, when they first come, they're having troubles. So he had an addictive personality, let's say like that. So sometimes he would be doing good, and sometimes he would not be doing so good. But somehow I was drawn to this person, and I was perpetually trying to help him, sometimes doing things even that I shouldn't have been doing, like letting him stay over in the flat with us, and when he was really not in a good space, but just trying to show him shelter. For years and years this went on. I would go in front of Radha Landaneshwar and I would say to them, literally I would say to them, what are you doing? Like so many times I said, why have you got me continuing? He's not, and it was years it was going on. And slowly he finally kind of came out of the haze. And then he wound up moving into the ashram for some time, was brahmachari, took first initiation, second initiation. Then he left. He went on to become a temple president in another temple somewhere. And now he's gone on to be actually a very successful person. But he's not in London anymore, so I didn't get the fruits, which upset me for a while actually. I was when he decided to leave London, I was like, what do you mean? And I was thinking, hey Baba, I invested a good 5 to 8 years in you. You're mine. That's how I was thinking. And when he said, no, I want to go somewhere else, I was thinking, that's not fair. It's not fair. I should be getting these fruits. But then he went on to do his own thing. And he was successful. And he's also now, we're still very good friends. And he's still very grateful. And he knows what I put in. Many people don't know. People who know him now, they don't know everything that went on ages ago. So sometimes we have to put that time in and make the investment, even though we don't see the results. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. You don't perform dharma just to get artha. You perform dharma because it's the right thing to do. It's not about the results. Krishna says it. How many times does Krishna say it to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita? So many. You're not entitled to the fruits of your labor. You simply have to do your duty, perform the activity. So like that.
So the Devotee Care International team have a mission statement, which is, our mission is simple. We want every devotee to be spiritually happy, materially well situated, and positively identifying with ISKCON as a caring society. So this last sentence point, positively identifying with ISKCON as a caring society. Depending where we give this talk, yeah, sometimes I'm okay, unfortunately, but this is the goal of ISKCON, as it were, to not to be seen as a judging society or critical, or accepting some type of people's society. But the point is that it should first and foremost be a caring society. And from that will stem so many things, so many projects, so many books will go out, so many pujaris will come, so many deities will be worshipped so nicely. So we have to ensure that we are actually investing in our own way and seeing that this society is always caring, not to be just seen, but that is caring.
Anything stands out for anyone in this? Yes, Mother.
For me, that's
Perfect. Thank you.
I cannot imagine without not nothing. The only that part of that and see that's the that you want whole house.
Very nice. Did everyone hear what she said? Okay. So she said what stood out to her was this point about being materially well situated. And she thought that for brahmacharis and sannyasis, they don't need to be materially well situated. It's only the grihastas. Of course, you didn't mention vanaprasthas, but I presume they're stuck in there somewhere. Of course, in ISKCON, vanaprasthas are like, who? So either you're in saffron or not, and that's it. You're in saffron or you're married, and that's it. But anyway, the point being that for you, understanding that materially well situated means only the grihastas. So how does that apply to everyone? Yes? Good question. Anyone would like to offer an answer to that? Yes, Prabhu. Oh, brahmacharis and sannyasis are human beings also. They have hearts. They have emotions and needs. Okay, that's a good point. Yes, very good. Okay, just gentlemen in the back. Very nice. Very good. Just on that point, actually, we were just reading the Bhagavatam. We do this thing. We have a YouTube channel called Bhagavatam Bites, where we read regularly from Bhagavatam and discuss. And we're just reading the end of the third canto, conversation. Lord Kapila Dev and Devahuti is finishing. And it's actually mentioned there that even the body of a sannyasi, although we know at the time of death the sannyasi is not cremated, the sannyasi is entombed in samadhi because the body is considered, not material. But in the purport, Prabhupada says even the sannyasi's body is ultimately material because it has to do material needs. Whether you're the highest level of devotee or the lowest level of devotee, you still have to eat. You still have to breathe. You still have to, we won't talk about that so much, but we have to do all these things. Have to take bath. You have to clean the body. Brush teeth, clean ears, whatever. Shave. So many things we still have to do with the material body. But the thing is, when you do it for Krishna, it's no longer considered material. But at the same time, materially well situated is such a huge topic, and I'm so glad when someone points it out. Because in a spiritual movement, we often want to forget about the material. When I came to ISKCON, you heard earlier, I was working in the investment banking industry. I had my own company, was a consultant, working with development of software for the investment banking industry. When I came to ISKCON and became convinced by a senior devotee that I should take a 1-year sabbatical and live in the temple, I thought he was crazy and everyone else was crazy. But then I realized, no, I'm the one that's crazy, so maybe I should do that. And I did. But I was thinking about this material the material world, being materially well situated. So it's very easy that we have a misconception about the material world. But when I came, I never wanted to touch another computer again. I thought finally I won't have to do any computer work. And then the president asked me to build a database and a system for looking after the book distribution in the Sankirtan and to set up the network in the temple. And I was like, oh man, what? And he said, no, this is no longer material because now you're doing it for Krishna. So in one sense, it's like that. But at the same time, a sannyasi needs to be materially well situated. The sannyasa ashram is still an ashram, and the varnashram system is still a material system. And that means that if you're in the sannyasa ashram, you have to be properly situated. And if you're in the sannyasa ashram and you don't belong in the sannyasa ashram, then you won't be well situated. And Prabhupada discusses this topic in the 6th canto in the story of Gajendra and the crocodile. Huh? Sorry, 8th canto. Thank you, sir. My apologies. Yes, 8th canto. And he explains there that Gajendra is weak. Even though he's the stronger of the two, he's weak because he's improperly situated. If he was on land, he would easily crush the crocodile. But because the crocodile is in the water where he is properly situated, then he is stronger. And Prabhupada uses the purport there to explain that even if a sannyasi, because actually within ISKCON at that time there was sannyasi with issues who had fall down. And he said, better that he gives up that ashram and accepts a lower ashram or a different ashram, grihastha ashram. I say lower according to the hierarchical idea, and continues with his Krishna consciousness rather than going away. So material situation is still, whatever ashram you're in, it's still a material situation like that. Anyway, this is a very big topic because if we aren't situated in a good material situation, it will be very difficult to focus on our spiritual life. Now, what does that mean? Materially well situated. Do you think that means the same thing for everyone? No, it totally doesn't mean the same thing. In fact, it means something different for everyone. Naturally, some people, materially well situated, will mean that they probably have lots of opulence in their lives. Others, materially well situated, means that they're naturally just more renounced. They don't want all these things in their lives. They don't need those things in their lives. That's nature. If you look at the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, King Prataparudra, pure devotee. He's a king surrounded by opulence. Shivananda Sain. What was Shivananda Sain's situation or position? Anyone knows? Huh? Yeah, opulent. Wealthy grihastha. And because of that, he used his Lakshmi to look after all of the devotees, all of their material needs. But Kolavecha Sridhar, poor person, grihastha, simple man. He didn't care. Any money he got, he would spend worshipping Ganga Devi. So there's such variety. There were sannyasis, there were brahmacharis, there were grihastas, there was even a dog. Right? We were just discussing this earlier. Even the dog, Shivananda Sain's dog. Shivananda Sain was looking after the dog, asked them to look after the dog. They didn't look after the dog. The dog went missing. Shivananda Sain fasted because they didn't feed the dog and they lost the dog. A few days later, they find the dog where? With Lord Chaitanya eating the remnants of coconut pulp that Lord Chaitanya was chewing and then giving to the dog. So Lord Chaitanya's associates are on all levels, and their material wealth situation is dependent on their individual situations. We should be careful, again, not to judge and think that everyone should be like me. Everyone should be like them. They should be like themselves. They should be them. And they should be the best version of them, because nobody else can be them. So like that, we should always encourage. But the challenge is, again, we think that whatever I'm doing is the right thing and everyone else should also do that. And that causes problems, causes difficulties. So anyway, this is a big mission statement. We're still okay for time? Okay, everyone is okay? Anyone would like to reflect anything back, or anyone has any questions or statements? Okay, we have, quite a few hands. So, sir, and I don't know everyone's name, but your name at the back? Yadunath Chandra Prabhu. Okay, so Yadunath Chandra Prabhu, then Prabhuji, the blue quartet. Can you say about that earlier? Raj? Rancho Prabhu, and you raised your hand as well there. Hare Krishna Prabhu, yes.
Yeah, so my question is, when I was reflecting on this statement, materially well situated and also caring society. So let's say, of course, materially well situated is different for every ashram. Even within ashram, every family has different, needs. But when you talk about caring, how do you provide caring for materially not well situated families, in the process?
So the essence of your question was, how do you provide care for a family who's not materially situated? Could you give a specific?
Oftentimes, like the whole family may not come with advanced person and the wife, if they are not follow the same path. There is definitely the synergy is not there. How do you balance, not balance, how do you make it equally by providing?
Very nice. I like that question. Such a good question. Can I share something? So there's one one devotee that I connected with many years ago. And when he approached me, he had been a brahmachari previously, 15 years before. And he had left, very disgruntled, actually, very upset. And he went away. He got married. He had kids. He got into a lot of Maya. And then he came back. And we connected somehow, Krishna arranged. And he had become very serious again. Like, very serious. You know how they say the pendulum swings, with the pendulum? So it goes like this. So he went, woo! And then he came back and he was like, oh. So he had come back. He was chanting 16 rounds. He was telling his wife, who wasn't a devotee, never knew him as a devotee, that, she should chant. She's in Maya. Telling the kids they're in Maya. He was doing all kinds of different things, being very strict. And so he started talking to me. And he was saying, I'd like for you to be my mentor. And I said, no, you don't. You don't want me to be your mentor. And he said, yes, I do. And I said, nah, because the advice I'm going to give you, you're not going to want to accept. And he said, no, I trust you. And we had this whole debate where I said, no, you don't. And then I said to him, I don't need a crystal ball, but if you like, I can tell you your future. And he said, go on then. And I said, within 5 years, you will be divorced. And you won't be living at your house that you live in now. You'll have to pay for your own apartment. and you'll probably have to get a second job. And then you're going to stop chanting Hare Krishna because you won't have time to chant anymore because you'll have to work too hard to support the family that you're not with anymore. And I said, and you're going to have to pay alimony. And then within a few years after that, you're going to blame ISKCON again for ruining your life. You're going to blaspheme Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. Your family will blame Prabhupada and Krishna for ruining their lives. And that's basically the future that I see for you. And he was devastated. But I could see that very clearly in his future because he had just swung so far that his wife was already being alienated. She wasn't a devotee. And he said, so what should I do? I said, the best thing for you to do is on the way home tonight, buy the biggest bunch of flowers that you can, and you walk in the door, you give them to your wife, and you say to her, I am such a fool. And I'm sorry for being a fool, and I'm sorry for pushing my religion on you. I beg your forgiveness. And he looked at me as if I was a fool. And I said, I told you, you didn't want me to be your mentor. And he said, do you really think I should do that? And I said, yeah, because you are a fool. And she deserves respect, and you should respect her. You're disrespecting her because you made a commitment to her for this life, at least for 50 years, to raise your children together. Now you've made some decision, you're alienating her, excluding her, and you're offending her. That's Jiva Aparad. I said, at least you should take her flowers and beg forgiveness. He did it. And they had a huge breakthrough in their relationship. Not break up, but break through. Just from that one incident. And after that, the next thing I told him, because he was trying to force his whole family to follow ISKCON, I said, you shouldn't follow ISKCON for the next year. If you can, yes. But if you can't, then you shouldn't force it on your family. And I said, and I know this sounds not very Krishna conscious, but my opinion is it's the most Krishna conscious because it is what is favorable for your Krishna consciousness. And he did it. And he started to do all these things. 12 years later, he took first initiation with his wife's permission. 3 years after that, he took second initiation with his wife's permission and with her presence at the initiation and in conversation with his Guru Maharaj. She hasn't started chanting yet, but she has told him that whenever things are tough for her at work, she chants the Hare Krishna mantra. 15 years plus it took, but he's still married. She's becoming favorable. He's second initiated. He's read Bhagavatam 5 times, Chaitanya Charitamrita 4 times, Bhagavad Gita countless times, because his travel to and from work he reads all the time. So it's not always orthodoxy that makes someone Krishna conscious. Sometimes it's actually helping someone to be materially well situated that enables them to progress long term. But if we're short sighted, we make decisions and we advise people based on wanting fruits and results immediately. If we want to rack up numbers of devotees immediately, then we may get that, but they will not stick around for a long time. If we play the long game, in 20 years, we'll have 20 times the number of devotees, and they will be strong devotees. That's my answer to your question. Hare Krishna. No, there was a queue. So Prem Prabhu, and then Rancho Prabhu, and then Naveen. You wanted to comment on this specific point? Okay, please.
So, like that you gave may not necessarily do truthful in all the cases. Like for example, some cases, in this case, it works out. Being patient, giving, allowing someone to be done.
Yes, good point. And it's the same. The care is not caring for someone is not a formula. Caring for someone is not a formula. It's not that 1 + 1 = 2 for everyone. Care, in its essence, means sensitivity. And it means we have to become sensitive to the needs of that person, depending on their situation. Not on our situation, but on their situation. And if we're really genuinely sensitive to helping and guiding and encouraging, supporting, and caring for another individual, another devotee, then that's what will help them. Whether it means it always seems to work, of course, if I had checked whether that was working at year 1, year 2, I can only tell that story now after 15 years and feel that it's a success. And every year in between, he and I were meeting 1-to-1, not just once a year, regularly. And he was melting down regularly. It wasn't like his life was a joyous occasion every day, because guess what? In the material world, that isn't the fact anyhow. So it was a perpetual situation of encouragement, revealing one's mind, sharing scripture, talking and discussing, and just continuing to keep himself buoyant in Krishna consciousness, because he himself was still Krishna conscious. The main thing that he wasn't doing anymore was he wasn't trying to force it on someone who didn't want it. Does that make sense? So he was still, I wasn't encouraging him not to be Krishna conscious. I never encouraged him not to chant his rounds. But I wouldn't encourage him to chant his rounds in the front room with his wife while she's trying to watch TV. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Why are you watching this rubbish? People do that. You may know some. I know people who do that. And I think, is that really good? Now, maybe it will help them. Because on the other side, I know that there have been people who have been really forceful in their relationship, and somehow their family became devotees. So we don't always know exactly what will work. So I'm not giving a formula, I'm just sharing one example. So yeah, that formula may not work for everyone, 100%. But if we're sensitive to the needs of the person, to help them and those around them, then that will work, if we're sensitive. But yes, thank you for pointing that out, because it isn't a formula that, okay, so now go and tell everyone. And that's what happens. We think, oh yes, now any man or woman who's having problem with their husband or wife, we tell them, give them flowers. Why? Because that's what Nitai said. Then you've missed the point. So thank you. That's very, very important. Okay, is Krishna going to sleep? Okay. Okay. Prem, Prabhu?
Sometimes in Prabhupada, we read Prabhupada, and our foundation of philosophy is based on Prabhupada books. He emphasizes, because he's writing from his deep sense of renunciation. So sometimes a materially well-situated situation doesn't go well with the advice that Prabhupada gives in his books about renunciation at a certain age, where you have to, wind down some certain things, and you are in your comfort zone and you're practicing bhakti. But then, when you come across statements like that in Prabhupada's books, and there are preachers in our movement who also emphasize strongly on this, so many points about this. So it creates a kind of a conflict for that person, because he's reading Prabhupada's books, he's coming across these statements where Prabhupada says, oh, at 50 years of age, one should do this and that, and so many things. And the person is not ready. And, because he says, as long as your material desires, you're going to rotate in the cycle of birth and death, and you're in a materially well situated situation. Then. So that's what I was just a comment.
Perfect. And I would say that materially well situated is a very flexible statement. I mean, my wife and I, well, I'm over 50 now, but for me, we're both realizing that we're coming to a point in our lives where it's natural that there's something different. Just like a young man or young woman comes to a point where they know they're ready to be with another person and start a family. It's a change in life. They've moved from student phase to practical application. And so later there may also be this natural state. Now, the thing is whether someone will be honest or not with themselves. And how does that look? It may be that it is time for someone to renounce and they need that encouragement. But there's also the story of, I think his name is Vasudev from Fiji, and he was a very successful businessman. And the devotees were trying to encourage him to give up his business. And then Prabhupada said, no, you shouldn't do that because that's not going to be the best thing for him. You should encourage him to be successful in his business and to learn how to spend the Lakshmi for Krishna. So it's materially well situated, again, will be different for different people. So I think we have to be careful if someone, and Prabhupada, if you read Prabhupada's books, you'll see that Prabhupada said different things to different people at different times. And I can find a quote from Prabhupada easily where Prabhupada says, there's no need to take sannyas in Bhagavad Gita 8:13.8 through 12. Yeah, he says there's no need. If you have a Krishna conscious family, there's no need to take sannyas.
Somebody was telling, that's one place. There are 20 places in the Bhagavad Gita.
He says you should take sannyas.
How to make whatever.
And that's yeah, and that's Jayadvaita Swami. So this is also the point. Parikshit, who's disappeared now, but Parikshit Maharaj, the original Parikshit. He went to the bank of the Ganga, and so many sadhus were saying so many different things. Now, of course, this isn't, an exact thing, but it means that there are many different perspectives and opinions. We have to figure out whom will we listen to and who do we follow and who do we trust. And it is the duty of sannyasis to make people renounced. That's their duty. At the same time, whether it's your time right then when they say it's the case to do it or not, may or may not be the case. Because I know many devotees who became brahmacharis, but then they stayed brahmacharis longer than they should have. And they know it. And then later, at the age of 50, they leave the brahmachari ashram and decide to get married. Wait a minute, now you should be renouncing, if we use just the numbers. So it's not always that. Sometimes I think in the name of renunciation, we almost force something upon people that may not really be the time for them to do that. Even much earlier than 50, devotees are encouraged to renounce, and I've seen that also happening, when actually there's very little encouragement of the Grihastha ashram. So this is just my opinion. And the Grihastha ashram is the foundation of the entire Varnashram system. And a sannyasi may encourage everyone to renounce. Meanwhile, he'll happily take the donations from the hard-working Grihastha and make good use of it. Right? So the point is that both needs to be encouraged. Because without a strong foundation of Grihastha ashram, then all the other ashrams don't have anything to rest upon, because that is the foundation of the Varnashram system. So you need devotees who are hardworking, earning, successful, and also engaging their Lakshmi in Krishna service, because that's what they're meant to do. But yeah, it's a good point. Materially situated means different things. Yeah, so 20 times outweighs 1. Someone else? We had Prabhuji, Ranchor. Prabhu.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a question. You pointed out that glories for God. I just like get a position on why. Is that like a human nature thing, or is that dependent on the existence of glories? Is it because of the way you cultivate glories, the way you kind of use glories? And if there's ways to fix that, not that we can help them down.
Can we make them harder so we can really give them a good whack and they don't break so easy?
After that, if they're more comfortable with glories, they can make spiritual progress easier.
I think initially the idea is that in general people are fragile. Even the strongest of people, you can say a little thing and they get affected. But the idea is that because it's about devotee care, then we should try to handle devotees with care because they are fragile. And your question seems to make me think that if you have like a valuable vase, which is fragile because it's glass, and if it's not handled with care, then it could easily break. So your question is like, is there any way that we can make that fragile thing stronger so that we can handle it with less care?
No, yeah. I don't mean like that. But like, I mean, you probably say other benefits, like having stories not that fragile. This is like the reason why it's like these stories are fragile is the way that we cultivate them. In that way, like,
Well, I think it's the nature of the living entity where that we put a strong front on, but we're actually fragile at heart. And devotees are meant to become soft-hearted. But it's hard to become soft-hearted in an environment where it seems that others are very hard-hearted, taking advantage or just not being conscientious. You know, it's I came into ISKCON from a corporate background. For me, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, see you later. Next. And there's 20 more people who are ready to come and take that service. So when I first started managing an ISKCON, that's the way I was thinking. You're not qualified for the position, my friend. Bye. So I was thinking devotees are expendable because they're here for a purpose. They're meant to do something. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then they're basically useless. That's probably not the philosophy to apply in a society of devotees, right? Because devotees aren't just here to get something done. And this brings up the idea of project over people, which is what often happens in the material world, quote unquote, right? Any corporation is more focused on the corporation often than the people. And the people are expendable in order to make sure that the corporation is profitable and successful. Within our movement, we also have a mission or we have projects. But the only project of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to make devotees. Anything we do within the movement is simply to bring people to Krishna and keep them with Krishna. So the only mission in our movement is actually the mission of looking after devotees, making devotees. And we don't just want to make a bunch of devotees so that they can go away. We want them to stay. So people are the mission, but we forget that. And I know here this model is the new temple that you're working on. So you can raise 500 million, whatever you need for the project. You can build it beautifully. And if in the process we upset and offend many devotees, then you can have that big, beautiful building, but guess what? No one will be inside of it. And then what? Someone else will come, just like they're doing with many churches in Prabhupada's time, they were also doing. Prabhupada said there are so many empty churches. Then they just sit empty, or they turn them into in England, they turn them into bingo halls, or they turn them into different other functional things. But they're not built and used for what they were meant, sir. They're not used for what they were built for. So the point is that the temple should be built by the people, by the devotees who want to serve in the temple. And everyone has a vested interest in it. And it's everyone's temple. And it's for everyone. So if our projects aren't built like that, then they may become successful in the sense that they're built. Jai Shri Radhanath Bar Ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. But the substance and the essence of what they're meant to be for and about will be missing. So I think that's kind of the idea. Devotees are fragile. They're delicate flowers, beautiful, delicate flowers. Each of them a beautiful, delicate particle of the splendor of God. And they should be handled in that way and dealt with in that way, with love and with care. Now, does it mean that they don't need to be corrected, or I don't need to be corrected, or even maybe sometimes disciplined? Does it mean that as a parent, your child is a child, it's fragile, but sometimes you have to say, no, 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 don't stick the electric or the metal spoon in the electric socket, right? Don't touch the hot stove. Still, there needs to be correction, but it should be done in a way that is really with conscientious care. And Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is the art of learning to bend the devotees without breaking them. So like that. Naveen Prabhu, you're up. You're the manager, right? You're like, it's 9 o'clock. You said everything now. Very good.
What I want to say is material wealth is actually the basic needs. That's it. Otherwise, there's no sky in it. But that is the basic needs. Taken care of. Food and shelter and clothes. Basic needs. That's what I interpret it.
Okay, so you're saying materially well situated means the basic needs, food, water, accommodation, medicine, things like that. Yeah. I still stand by materially well situated is unique for every individual. If Shivananda Sain had been encouraged, Shivananda Sain, why didn't Lord Chaitanya, where's our Jayadvaita Maharaj person? He left. Why didn't Lord Chaitanya go to Shivananda Sain and go, you filthy rich, person, renounce? Bhagavad Gita is all about renunciation. But again and again, Arjuna says, first you tell me to take sannyas, then you tell me to fight. And Krishna says, real sannyas is not taking sannyas. Real sannyas is fighting while you remember me. That's real renunciation. So Shivananda Sain, it's good Shivananda Sain was a millionaire. Why? Because he knew how to use his Lakshmi in the service of Krishna. He knew how to use it to take care of devotees. I say, better we have many, many billionaires who know how to serve Krishna than to encourage them to be artificially renounced. And it may be about, it's basics for everyone. Everyone has basic needs. But ironically, some people's basic needs may just be something more than our basic needs. Yes. I mean, if you're born into, because I'm from London, the Hinduja family, I mean, you've got such opportunity to do so much for Krishna. And you can walk away from it all. And if you are genuinely renounced like that, then that's glorious. But if you're not, you're used to a certain level of opulence. King Prataparudra, he said he would give up his own life if he couldn't get the association, and he took the humble position, but he still remained the king. And what endeared King Prataparudra to Lord Chaitanya, what was the tipping point? Anyone remembers what the tipping point was for Lord Chaitanya? Sweeping the street was not it. That wasn't the first thing. Nope, that was later. He only got the opportunity to sing the Gopi Gita because of the... And what happened with Ramananda Roy? That's right. Lord Chaitanya said, come back to Jagannath Puri, spend time with me, give up your public service. He requested him to renounce. Now, Ramananda Roy didn't just renounce everything. What did he do? He went to the king and he said, Lord Chaitanya has asked me to renounce my public service and spend time with him at Jagannath Puri. And the king said, yes, perfect, no problem. I'll give you full pension. Ramananda Roy didn't say, no, I don't want full pension. He took the pension and he told Lord Chaitanya that King Prataparudra gave him the pension. Lord Chaitanya also didn't tell him to renounce the pension. And in fact, he encouraged him. And he said, this King Prataparudra, he's a good man. He knows how to look after the devotees. And that was the tipping point. And Prabhupada gives two purports there, all about the importance of Vaishnav Seva and how that is what wins the heart of Krishna. Not just trying to serve Krishna. Before that, King Prataparudra just wanted to see Lord Chaitanya. And he was getting nowhere. But when he served the devotee, then Lord Chaitanya became favorable. There's so much in there. It's not black and white. It's very gray. And it's practical, personal, sensitive application for every single individual. And that takes some time. Definitely. Prabhu, you were going to say something, and I know whenever you want me to stop, we need to stop. And maybe after this we can finish, or now?
You don't have to answer my question is a structured program for a temple like ours can help initiate the devotee care in a more structured, systematic way. If you can lay out that, give us some material later on that.
Perfect. Perfect questions. And I'll give you the perfect answer. I don't know. But I do know who does know. There are two people who know. One is their lordships. They know exactly what the plan is. Second is the devotees who serve their lordships, and from whose hearts the understanding can come of what that program is. So one thing that we do, of course, we're only here for a short time, and we're just trying to give some taster. We're just trying to encourage devotees to please think about each and every devotee you're serving with and think we need to care for each other. Despite the differences, the different perspectives, so many things. And then there's a course called the Devotee Care Course. It doesn't teach you how to deal with bereavement. It doesn't teach how to look after someone at the time of death. It doesn't teach how to be a carer in the sense of if someone's sick. What it does is it encourages all of us to think deeply within ourselves how we can care. What way can I help to care? And at the end of that course, we usually work with a group of devotees, say 25, 30 devotees. We break them into groups, and they themselves create a strategic plan of how they can implement devotee care practically according to their own time, place, and circumstance. Because if I went to Pune and met with 30 brahmacharis about devotee care, they're going to probably institute a different strategic plan for devotee care than if I come to a community where there aren't any brahmacharis. Does that make sense? So we have to look at it, and we'll never cover all the bases in the first try or the second try, even the third or fourth try. But as long as we keep trying, we'll start to cover more and more bases. And slowly but surely, that mood of Vaishnav Seva will start to grow. And then one day, after 5 years, in 6 weeks, 80 feet. And we're going to be like, oh my God, it worked. I didn't see that coming. I thought all this time it wasn't working. And now look, the trees we planted. Who's going to sit under those trees? Parikshit, this gentleman here who's having dinner with his father. This young lady. They're going to sit under those trees. Whose responsibility is it to plant those trees? Ours. For them. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Premanandi. Hare Bol. Jai.
So we take this as a prelude session. So Prabhu Mother came and he gave us an intro to start with. So as I said, we like to ground us as we go towards the temple. We have to meet ourselves and then come up with a plan how we individually contribute and make it out. So here there's no single president concept, it's a group of devotees. I'm one of them.